Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that have shaped us into who we are today. I am your host, Abebe, and I can't wait to dive into these moments with you. Let's get it. Welcome to another episode of the Inflection Podcast. It's super freaking fantastic to have Daniel with me here today, co-founder, CEO of HuggyStudio, one of the foremost bubble developers around the world.
An honor. Great. I'll take it.
Awesome. I came across you, our paths crossed some years ago when I was looking into Bubble for web apps. I ended up doing the bootcamp. I think your schedule was pretty packed. I wanted to do yours, but dang it, Daniel is backed up. Apparently, everyone in the world wanted to take your cohort. So couldn't do that. But we've stayed in touch over the years, and it's been amazing to watch your growth and the innovations you've brought to the space. I want to dive into that a little bit with your background and motivations for getting started in the no-code space and building a business around that.
So real quick, the background is quite easy. My story is I wanted to start a business when I was 20 years old. And it was super hard to start because I didn't know how to write code. So what I did was I just hired an agency and paid them a lot of money, actually money that I didn't have. So I borrowed money from my brother. I took a loan and basically went out there and paid a lot of money to this agency. But it was actually quite a good price, to be honest, because it was a big platform they were building. But the problem I had was I didn't know how to start a business, right? So I thought I just need to build it and then people will come. And basically nobody came. So the platform went live 6 months later. Nobody wants to use the platform. So I didn't have one single transaction on the platform. And I was there in debt, just thinking about how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur if you don't know how to write code, right? And that was the start of my journey because for years I had to repay those debts. So I was always reminded every month when paying this invoice, I was reminded how bad it was. I'm speaking about it now and I'm laughing about it, but back then it was really a bad situation. I didn't realize, or I couldn't even think of this outcome. Like I was in a situation where I thought, there's no positive aspect to it. You can turn it around anyway. There's no positive aspect to what I've just done. But years go by and I created a no-code agency just because I knew how bad it was if you don't know how to write code. And I understood quite quickly the potential of no-code being tools that you can use if you don't know how to write code to build software, right? And that's one of the reasons why I was super in advance because the pain was so deep of not knowing how to write code that when Bubble arrived with their first version, many people thought that would not hold. And I was there being desperate for something like Bubble. And that's why I picked it up quite early. And that gave me an advantage.
Yeah, that's fascinating. The pain. So you went through that. So you understood uniquely what others in that position, right? Other archetypes or personas like you could feel. And then also Bubble fulfilled that need for you at the time. But so what did that look like? So you went through that, years later, you started a Bubble agency. At what point did you then decide, oh, actually, I can teach people Bubble and help also get into it?
Yeah. So the motivation was not to teach. The motivation was it changed my life because suddenly I was able to build software without hiring anyone. So I was saving a lot of money and I was being fast. So whenever I had an idea, I was testing it myself. When I had feedback, I was able to change that product myself. And I had friends, I had people looking at what I was doing and they were asking always the same question, like, how did you build that? Who did that for you? How much did you pay? And the answer was always the same. I built it myself. And I was famously known for someone who was quite bad at understanding code and how technology works. So people were mind blown, right? They were like, that's not possible. And I would always tell them, yes, it is. And I would show them Bubble, right? And every single time I would do that, people would just go crazy. And some weeks go by and they text me, hey, how did you do that? Like, how does that work? And what I realized at some point when I came back from the US, because I tried to launch a business in the US and it was really like, it didn't go well. So I came back home and I was super depressed. And at some point, my wife came to me and we had a really honest chat because I told her, listen, it looks like I'm failing at everything what I'm doing right now. I don't know what I should do. And I'm in a bad situation. And she told me, okay, what would you like to do? What is the one thing that you enjoy doing? And the only thing I knew for sure was the fact that I love to work with entrepreneurs. And that was like my answer was straight. I want to work with entrepreneurs. And then she asked me,
Sure.
okay, why would entrepreneurs want to work with you? And I said, to be honest, the only thing I have to offer right now is no code, like Bubble. And she was like, yeah, but how can you bring entrepreneurs to you with that? And I said, nah, I guess I need to start Meetup. And the same night I launched in Switzerland, and I was just like going in all different cities just to explain how Bubble and no code can help you, basically. I was just doing that because I had this absolute passion to meet entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs came to those meetups. So it was great. I was having fun. And at some point, one guy just pushed me and said, listen, you need to start an agency. And I was like, I'm not sure. And then 1 week later, he called me. I was like, right now, I need an agency. It's either I'm going to hire AirDev or you create your own agency. Sorry, AirDev is like an agency that is in the US. And he told me either I hire AirDev or you create your agency right now. And I was like, okay, that was the start.
The kick in the butt to get it started.
Yeah, but I really didn't want to. And that's crazy. But then when you just give, when you just create meetups, share knowledge, just the simple fact of giving proactively without really expecting anything, people then come to you. Like the meetup right after this one, my co-founder just popped up there and he was like, I like what you do. I really believe in no code as well. And maybe we should join forces.
That's fantastic. You literally read my mind because that was my next question. At what point did you get a co-founder? Because sometimes with starting an agency, starting a venture, in my own experience at least, right? You can do it alone and hustle through it and grow it, which the people who want to do that. But I've found sometimes having a co-founder or partner in it, like it really helps accelerate growth.
Yeah.
So I was keen to see at what point you got a co-founder and how valuable that was to your growth. But it looks like he joined pretty early.
So when he joined, I was already making money. I already had the brand. I was already out there in the market with an agency on my own. But the thing is, I know myself, right? And I'm pretty good at many things, but I'm very bad at many things as well. And one thing that I really suck at is this very detailed oriented project planning and just execution, one thing after the other one. Just be focused and disciplined to create or to just do the work. And I really suck at that. And here comes the opposite. Like he's a totally opposite guy who is really good at that. And he realized that he doesn't take as much risk as I do. And that could be the reason why he might need help. And that was like a perfect situation where we're like, okay, listen, we're very different, but it looks like we want the same thing.
Yeah.
And then it was just like basically the best decision I took because he brought in that calmness into this company because whatever he does, it's very structured and well thought through and we go step by step. And I bring in that craziness factor about dreaming big and trying things out. And together we're just super strong. So that's what happened.
That's pretty cool. Where do you have the greatest saturation of your clients right now? Do you find more folks from the US hitting you guys up, or is it still more so in Europe, Switzerland specifically for your client base right now?
Yeah. So at that stage, what you need to be aware of is we don't want to have an agency. So since day one, we don't want to have an agency. So the very first thing we discussed with this co-founder is like, what do you want? And both of us want to create some sort of company builder for entrepreneurs who don't write code.
Yeah.
So the agency is just here to pay the rent. So we thought to ourselves, how can we position ourselves in a way that we get the strict minimum from the agency so that we can work on the other stuff, right? At that stage, we never wanted to grow the company. And we decided to stay in Switzerland because we knew that Switzerland has a high paying power, let's say. And we decided to increase the prices as much as we could in Switzerland and provide the sort of premium service so that we can have high margins and work on our other ideas. So that's the reason why from the very day one, we never reached out to people who were asking for proposals on the Bubble page. We never really played that agency shopping game where we were trying to compete with other agents. We were never on that stage, right? So we were always trying to do our own thing. And what happened indirectly is we really owned the Swiss market, basically, where people started to understand that, okay, whatever is no code, HuggyStudio in Switzerland is the company at a certain level. But things change, right? So we had those fluctuations in the last couple of months. We had to reduce the team again because, again, we didn't want to grow the company. So by that, our diversification risks became higher and higher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have 3 main companies as customers, for example, and you don't grow, if one company leaves, then it's 3% of your revenue that just disappears.
Yeah.
That was like some sort of strategic mistake, I would say, but we knew it from the very get-go that we were running high risk. And that's why many people see us as an agency, but we're still very much like a startup, because what we're trying to do is, move away from that agency business.
I feel you on that. And with my agency, that was the idea, to have the agency be it's making cash flow, but then keep exploring tools to build, products to launch, like a startup, right? Product studio, so that I'd call it. And then diversify that way, keep the agency running, service-based business, but also get into building products, which you can then scale, because those are a lot more scalable, right?
That's literally the reason why we're named HuggyStudio, right?
I love it.
Yeah. Same strategy, but we had the discussion. So I have two friends who had the same strategy at the same time. So I have two friends who are entrepreneurs. One has a pretty good sports marketing agency, wants to create products out of it. And one has a pretty strong design agency, wants to create product out of it. And 3 years ago, we met and we were like, okay, let's keep on meeting and see how we get there. And we now have 3 different outcomes, which is super interesting. So the first one totally dropped the agency, managed to get there. His product is killing it and he's making a lot of money just out of a product that can be scaled, right? That's a great success story. The second one totally ditched the product ideas because it was like, no, actually agency is the main business because you make money out of it, right? Every hour you sell, you get the money straight into your account.
Yeah.
And here we are still trying to do the two at the same time, which is super difficult.
Yeah. And it's a balance, right? It's a balancing act, and figuring out, I think, too, the unique situation because for a lot of people, I think it's different, right? It's not just one answer for everyone. Like you said, I have buddies too who own their own agencies and entrepreneurs, and it's everything in between. I've seen those who the same thing. They have the agency, but they're also building products and launching those. And for some of them, one of those products, or a few of them, make a hit, and then they focus on that, run down their software shop because they have this SaaS that folks are using. But for some, it's, hey, we're an agency. Maybe we test out products here and there, but that's not our main thing. So it's like maybe 80% agency, 20% products they're building, or 100% agency. So I've seen it work across the board for all those things.
It's a growing trend, I have the feeling, because agencies always wanted to be also startups, but they never thought that they would manage, right, to do both at the same time. At the same time, startups see now the struggle with investors. So they go, maybe there's another way, right? And we meet in the middle with people selling their consulting services at the same time, trying to build a startup.
Yeah. One other thing that comes to mind too, with regards to the no code space. So no code has been evolving, right? Obviously, in the past 5 years alone, there's many more players in the game with no code. So what are some trends you see that maybe you're excited about in the no code space that coming up in the next few years, and perhaps some opportunities or untapped opportunities?
To be honest, it won't surprise you, but it's incredible to see how many AI tools are now just like rising on top of the no code trend, right? Because if you would just have these AI tools by themselves out there, only software engineers could make something out of it, right? And now suddenly millions of people can actually build AI tools using Zapier and so on. And that's what's happening. I think that's the next big trend that already started. I think it's going to go at a whole new level with thousands of new tools that just combine both, right? My tools in different ways. And when I see the requests we get as an agency, they go more and more towards that direction of, hey, I want to integrate AI into a tool. And that same idea wouldn't be possible like a year ago, right? And suddenly there's a new platform out there, which is mainly ChatGPT or OpenAI. And now many of those ideas that wouldn't be so exciting could be exciting right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. And I guess the untapped potential, I would say, is if you take those tools and you just combine them with AI, you will get a pretty standard solution that works, but it's still pretty standard, because many people will always say, I know ChatGPT, I can do that on my own, right? I can go there and I can do that myself.
Yeah.
Where I see potential, a lot of potential, is for innovation that people don't manage to do, right? I'll give you a quick example. I created a very simple but fun tool. I don't know if you've seen it, named AI-startup-ideas.com.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one.
It's super simple, right? And the idea is it generates startup ideas, right? So far, so good. You can go to ChatGPT and ask for startup ideas. Pretty much anyone can do that. The only thing I added to it is a web scraper that goes and fetch your LinkedIn profile. So we create startup ideas that are made for you.
Interesting.
Right? Right. Simple customization aspect makes it suddenly super unique because people don't think about doing that. Although they could very much go to ChatGPT, copy paste their entire LinkedIn page and just paste it there and say, create startup ideas that are made for me, right?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't go to the same thing because we added some prompts based on our network knowledge. But at the same time, it is very similar, right?
I love that. And I see that's the beauty of no code for AI and a lot of these innovations, right? It's like a lot of times it's DIY, you can do it yourself, but it takes that extra sauce that
Mm.
someone like you brings to the table where helping people even figure things out and answer questions they did not even know they had. Again, the LinkedIn profile customization thing being one example. That's really a step further. Imagine, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more products, niche products that are, again, still using ChatGPT 3.5 or whatever that everyone has access to, but adding a spin to that and wrapping it into a product.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very intriguing because there's all kinds of tools right now. There are UI tools that allow you to spin up a website, right? The Wirefly website, again, still using same AI on the back end, but with a few extra things. So it's very fascinating to watch.
And it's crazy how quickly it becomes standard. I've just tried Wix AI generator last week, and you just create the page and it asks you, tell me about the page that you're trying to create, right? And it will create automatically the entire content. And it did. The website was there. The content was amazing. And I thought to myself, never will I go back to creating my own content for a website. So now that's the standard. And if you don't have that, I will not use your website generator. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's the standard now. We need to accept it.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's the future.
Yep.
What is something you know now and you wish you knew when you started your journey with HuggyStudio?
Yeah, that's a good one because we're in a transition period that is quite like, for some reasons I cannot disclose right now, but it is a special transition period. And what I realized by now is that we took many decisions based on our purpose. We always stayed true to our purpose. Whenever we started something and we realized it didn't move the needle for our purpose, we ditched it. Even products that were very profitable, we ditched those because we thought to ourselves, we need to invest the time in something that actually works and
Yeah.
that we have fun, right? And we're very proud about that. At the same time, I realized that because of those decisions we took, we also made some steps back when it came to revenues and traffic, all those kind of things. And looking back, I wish I took more time to define a clear strategy, not on 1 year, 2 years, but on 10 years.
Oh, wow. Long term.
On how very long term, on how we will get to our goal. Because what I did was, here's the purpose, and that's where we're going to get. I don't know how, I don't know when. And it is today. And today we have this opportunity to get started. Let's do it. But there's still a huge gap. And in this gap, if you don't have this map that takes you to this place where you want to get in 10 years, you might take some decisions that are quite impulsive because we stopped some initiatives. But why did we start them if it didn't move the needle, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of decisions were quite tough, but it all comes back to focus because I saw that video of this guy who worked with Steve Jobs. I'm not sure if you saw that video where he just says Steve Jobs is the most focused guy I've never met. And he always asked me, what are things I said no to? And that would mean that I'm focused on something. And whenever I would say like I said no to this thing or no to that thing, he would challenge me because he knew that some of these aspects that I said no to, I didn't want to do them anyhow. Real focus comes from the idea of saying no to things that you deeply are passionate about, that you deeply care of, and that you deeply have the feeling that you need to do it, and you still say no to it, then you're focused, right?
Wow.
And that's something we should have done when writing a strategy for years to come, and then stick to that strategy with that focus that was in that video. I think that would have helped us. I'm still very proud of what we did, but I think that would have made us better.
Yeah, totally. And thank you for sharing that. I've watched that video. A friend shared it with me a while ago, and we riffed on that for a while, the validity of focus and how it can really be a game changer and put you light years right ahead by mere focus because we live in an era where it's never been so easy to be distracted,
Mhm.
even on a daily basis, like
Yeah.
alerts and stuff. It's hard to want to do deep work, focus on the work at hand, but also even longer term focus. Definitely a superpower.
Yeah. And the thing is,
Fine.
there are so many opportunities. Like opportunities. Like years ago, I dreamt I dreamt to have opportunities. And now like opportunities are like knocking on the door every week, right? And
Yeah.
then it's about, okay, should we do that? Should we go that direction? And saying no is a bit more difficult than if you just have this one option.
Yeah, totally. Before we jump off, one thing I'd love for you to leave with the audience. What advice would you give to folks? Maybe they have a day job, right? They have this startup idea. Obviously, man, it's going to take me a lot of money
Mm.
to build this or something, and they're trying to figure out how do I build this thing. What advice would you give to such a person? They're under
Yeah.
pressure, trying to figure out what their options are.
Yeah. So I don't know about your private life because, so I'm talking to people now. I don't know about your private life because maybe you have a special situation, special family situations, a job that you deeply care about, but you're also interested in entrepreneurship. So I'll just give an advice to my younger self who did all those mistakes back then. And first of all, I think it's okay to take your time to build something. It doesn't have to be fast, like everybody says. All the advice in the books are written for classic VC startups. Right? And it's totally okay to be different. It's totally okay to say, I don't want to be such a company. I want to be a one-person company that makes a little bit of money or a lot of money, but on my own whatsoever. You can create your own rules when it comes to start a business and start a product because there is no clear true or wrong. And when I say that is the most important thing of all the startups is basically demand and how people react to whatever you want to do. I would take more time to grow with some people who really need whatever I want to build
Yeah.
and take my time to build that with them. At first, very manually. You don't need to build any product. If it's about matching people together, you can do that with your phone. You can call them. You can match them for a coffee, right? If it's about a productivity tool, you can do with Excel. You have so many options not to build something, just to make sure that you're building the right thing first. And you can do that in the evenings. And whenever you have a bit more signals that it works, you can try to automate some of the work and move slowly towards the direction of a product that has paying customers. Because for us, that's all what matters. If you have people who are really willing to pay for your product, you have a super solid basis that will avoid so many pitfalls like
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate you jumping on with me today.